Hi, this is Stephen, and this is Astro Indicator Update. This is episode 39, and today is May 17th, Sunday, May 17th. So what are we going to look at today? Today, we're going to look at Barack Obama's astrology, his current transits, the transits that were going on late 2016, and future transits kind of arbitrarily in a year. I have two articles to go over, one dealing with Obama, another dealing with the Federal Reserve and economics, and then we'll get into our market update and note, as I usually do, the astrological key dates that are approaching in a number of different markets. Okay. Here I need to kind of make some disclosure about my history, political orientation, and so forth. I did vote for Obama twice, and I was quite disappointed with the results. One of my central positions is I'm anti-war, and he took us into two wars and was responsible for many droning attacks and a number of things that I disagreed with strongly. So this is about Obama. This is about what is going on today, accusations that he was involved with the Michael Flynn frame-up, the attempt to surveil Trump while he was still running for president, and so forth. And this is an article, National Review, but it seems pretty objective. Obamagate is not a conspiracy theory. And so this is kind of setting the context for the astrology. And if you haven't listened to my program before, I've been studying astrology for over 40 years. And I have a master's degree in psychology, and I see astrology as being very helpful in seeing how people respond to their current situation. And here we're looking at Obama, his current situation going back to 2016. But let's go through this article briefly. Obamagate is not a conspiracy theory, okay? Democrats and their allies who like to pretend that President Obama's only scandalous act was wearing a tan suit are going to spend the next few months gaslighting the public by focusing on the most feverish accusations about Obama. Jumping down here, it is not conspiracy mongering to note that the investigation into Trump was predicated on opposition research. Excuse me. Let me read that again. It is not conspiracy mongering to note that the investigation into Trump was predicated on an opposition research document filled with fabulism and most likely Russian disinformation. It was based on a document that was fabricated. It was a fable, okay? And they used that to try to get FISA warrants to spy on the Trump administration. And this is somewhat similar to Watergate. If you're too young to know what Watergate is, that happened back in Richard Nixon's administration, and he was accused of sending people in to break into the DNC headquarters and steal information. That was what he was accused about, and that's why he left office, and that was why it was called Watergate, okay? Well, we have something sort of similar going on right now. But the reason I like this article is he goes into what else was happening in the Obama administration that at least indicates that this isn't far-fetched to think that Obama was involved, okay? Starting up here. What's more, the larger context only makes all of these facts more damning. By 2016, the Obama administration's intelligence community had normalized domestic spying. Obama's Director of National Intelligence, James Clapper, famously lied about snooping on American citizens to Congress. His CIA director, John Brennan, oversaw an agency that felt comfortable spying on the Senate, with at least 5 of his underlings breaking into the congressional computer files. His Attorney General, Eric Holder, invoked the Espionage Act to spy on Fox News journalist, shopping his case to 3 judges until he found one who let him name the reporter as a co-conspirator. The Obama administration also spied on Associated Press reporters, which the news organization called a massive and unprecedented intrusion. And though it's been long forgotten, Obama officials were caught monitoring the conversations of members of Congress who opposed the Iran nuclear deal. And so here's the kicker. What makes anyone believe these people wouldn't create a pretext to spy on the opposition party, given their track record of behavior? Okay? So that's the context. And in 2016 was the buildup of the setup that was involved in spying on the Trump campaign. And then afterwards, they went after Michael Flynn. After Trump was elected, they went after Michael Flynn, I think, framed him, and that was an attempt then to undermine Trump. Now, I'm not a Trump defender, okay? You just heard, I just voted for, told you I voted for Obama twice. So I'm not a big Trump fan, but this is, this type of action is illegal in my book. So let's get the astrological, perspective on what was going on with Obama currently and then back in 2016. Obama's current transits. Okay, let's start here. Well, he's got Saturn opposite Mercury. So let me do a little drawing here. And so here we go. This is Obama's natal chart in the middle. Okay, this is his information. Natal chart presented here. Current positions of the planets out in this outer ring. Here we have Saturn, 12th house, getting close to the ascendant. This is where it is right now. It's going retrograde. It just went stationary. Well, what's happening is that it's exactly opposite Obama's Mercury right now. And what do we see? Well, Obama is being very critical of Saturn, very negative about Trump. He's attacking Trump. In my estimation, in my opinion, he is trying to change the narrative a little bit off of him and back onto Trump. Okay? Mercury deals with communication. Mercury is very strong in Obama's chart. It's what's called a leading planet. We know he's a wonderful orator, campaigner. That's his strong suit, his strong element. And now we have Saturn bringing up past actions. Saturn deals with the past, deals with karma. And we're having these two functions within Obama, being revealed, being expressed, and so forth. Saturn is also in conjunct Obama's Venus. Let me draw that in here. Okay, here we have Saturn. It is 150 degrees away from his Venus. Now, I only have so much time with these blogs, but Venus deals a lot with one's attractiveness, what you are attracted to, and people. And in reverse, how what your public image is. Well, his public image is taking a hit right now, and it doesn't surprise me because Saturn is in this dynamic with Venus right now. So his public image is taking a hit. In addition, we have this Pluto-Jupiter conjunction, which is true for everyone in transit, combination is conjunct his Saturn. So here we go. We got the let me switch gears here a little bit. we've got this combination is conjunct his Saturn, okay? This is dredging up, again, things from the past, the Saturn element, dark things coming to the surface, which is Pluto, and tying it together with potential legal issues, okay, which is Jupiter, okay? So we're splicing together the symbolism of these elements and recognizing how they are playing out in his life right now. And then the advantage of astrology is we see how long they're going to last, and we get some idea of how he's going to respond to these conditions. Finally, Neptune is opposite Mars, slow-moving transit. Here is Neptune right here. We're going to draw this in. It is opposite his Mars in his natal chart. Mars is in his natal chart rules his midheaven up here, okay? And Mars, so it's a strong element. He's viewed as being a leader. He views himself as being a leader. However, right now, and over maybe a 1.5 year period, the energy of Neptune is affecting that capability and those skills. And in general, there are some positive things, but I see this as the negative side of Neptune is that there is an erosion, a dissolution of that capability. And so his image and his strength of being a leader is sort of dissolving underneath his feet in some respects. That's my opinion, okay? So let's get rid of some of these things and we're going to move on. So this is his current, a lot of challenges going on. Saturn, Pluto, affecting his Mercury, his communication abilities, affecting his leadership, public image, and so forth. So let's go on. So here we have back in November 16th, and I kind of pulled this out of the hat because this was just a few weeks after the election. You know, they are having to deal with the end of his administration. We have the same natal chart in the middle here. The planets have now shifted back to 2016. So what was going on in 2016? After the election, the recognition that Trump is in office and he is leaving office. Okay, that's the deal. So what's going on here? Well, we have Pluto up here, back in earlier in Capricorn, and it is 150 to his, in conjunct to his sun. Pluto on the individual level threatens loss, usually brings about a sense of crisis. Now this aspect, the 150, I think is very important. It is not quite as strong as a conjunction or an opposition or a square, but it's still significant. So there is a recognition going on of a loss of power, Pluto. In addition, Pluto likes to work. It's the lord of the underworld. It likes to work behind the scenes in a hidden fashion, oftentimes in a manipulative manner, okay? So he's recognizing he is losing power. He would like to exercise what power he has, in my estimation. Uranus is in conjunct Mars. We talked about Mars just in the last page, about Mars was related to his career function in the world, leadership function. But back in 2016, we had Uranus down here. Let's see if I can get this going right here. Uranus by transit was at 21 Aries, and it was at this 150 aspect with his Mars. Now what does that mean? Well, Uranus likes to do things on its own and likes to feel free, uninhibited, unrestrained, very strong-willed. And when you tie that together with Mars, what you get is an urge, a desire, the type of energy of a very willful action. I don't care about what the laws are, what other people think. I'm going to do this anyway. That's sort of the energy that was present at that time, okay? In addition, we have an asteroid, Vesta, okay? And let me draw this in. So Vesta was transiting his Mercury. And I could go in, there's just like every element in astrology has a number of meanings. They're not infinite, but they have a number of meanings. One of them, one for Vesta, is it deals with secret societies. It deals with the intelligence community on this scale in Barack Obama's world. That's what it would relate to, in addition to other things, but this is what it would relate to. And here we have it conjunct his Mercury. He is in communication. He is in meetings. He is in discussions. Okay, it's just like right there with intel agencies at that time. Okay, that is just clear as a bell. And finally, is Mars opposite Sun. Okay, let me draw that in there. Okay, the transit, sort of this Mars was in the same position. It's opposite his Sun. So again, a very strong energy for asserting himself, asserting his power, putting his personal stamp on something. Okay, so all those things tied together. It doesn't surprise me that he wanted to make a lasting impression. Even though he was leaving office, he still wanted to exercise his power and control at that time. So let's go on. One more thing in here related to Barack, and then we'll change the subject. But I wanted to see what's happening. Like I've done this with Bill Gates and Biden and other things. We look ahead a little bit. Somewhat arbitrarily, I just went 1 year ahead. May 16th, 2021. Again, his natal chart. And these are where the planets are positioned in 1 year. Is it getting easier for Barack, or is it getting harder? Okay. It's getting harder. He has Saturn now going direct. It went retrograde for much of this year, and now it's going direct. And now we have Saturn opposite his Sun. He is feeling pressure. He is feeling more stress. There's more demands in his life. His past is being made more and more concrete, probably to the world. And this is even going to get stronger because Saturn is going to move ahead and it's going to be on his ascendant, which intensifies this, these conditions. In addition, Pluto has not moved very much. It is still conjunct his Saturn. A depressing, for someone who's not Barack Obama or for Barack Obama, but for anyone, this is, people are going to feel very negative. They're going to feel depressed. They're wearing colored glasses that sees the world as very much against them, probably. Jupiter has moved on. That's what we have this conjunction of Jupiter and Pluto right now in the sky, but Jupiter has moved on. So this is even more intense. Old history being uncovered. That's how I summarized it. Excuse me, let me get a drink of water here. Okay. Continuing, because I just found this interesting. Uranus has moved on, but look what's going on in a year. Uranus is squaring the Sun, okay? His freedom is foremost in his mind. There are changes happening in his world in some fashion. He has an urge to get out of the situation that he's in because he feels very restricted and confined with the Saturn energy. So, this is an intense period for Barack Obama. And finally, we have the continuation of this opposition of Neptune and Mars. Yeah, these are the slow-moving outer planets. They take 2 years to get complete, but it's exact in a year, still exact in a year. And so, in my estimation, this is the continued erosion of his role that he had played and he had probably identified with as a leader, and it's still slipping away from him in a year. So you can make up, you can add up these things and kind of project your own forecast. But these are challenging energies for him that I think are compounded in a year relative to today. So we'll see what happens, but it doesn't look, we don't see, Jupiter on his sun or Venus on the ascendant or anything like that. We see all the challenging things taking place for him in a year. Let's move on. I'll try to get this frog out of my throat here. So this is an article, moving on to economics, but this was spelled out pretty clearly because some people think, once this COVID thing is over and the economy is going to come back, we're going to have a V-shaped recovery, and et cetera, et cetera. Well, this is a Charles Hugh Smith article of twominds.com. Charles Hugh Smith. He writes very succinct, nice, concise articles, usually about the economy. And he is saying globalization and financialization are dead, and so is everything that depended on them. It's a big statement. I'm not sure if it's completely true. But he says, let's see, I'm just going to cut to the chase here. He says that globalization and financialization are dead is revealed by what Federal Reserve bailouts and physical free-for-alls cannot do. Okay? Just printing up money out of thin air cannot do certain things that the economy relies upon. And central to those things, deal with the credit worthiness of borrowers and the willingness of banks and lenders to lend money to people who are bankrupt. Okay? So let's go through these things. Maybe I'll skip a couple, but you'll get the idea. I recommend this article. The Federal Reserve cannot create credit-worthy borrowers out of thin air like the Fed creates dollars out of thin air. They cannot force lenders facing mass defaults to loan more money to uncredit-worthy borrowers. They cannot force credit-worthy borrowers to borrow money. Okay? There's going to be some credit-worthy borrowers, but they're not going to want to borrow more money. They cannot reflate assets and consumption bubbles that have popped. They cannot restore, at least forever, they cannot restore confidence in long, fragile supply chains. They cannot magically turn unprofitable enterprises into profitable enterprises. People have to come through the front door. If people don't have money, if they're broke, they're not coming through the front door. Okay? You get the idea. But I think in looking at the media and reading what I do, these points are not emphasized very often. If you want my personal overview of what's going on in the world, this is a disaster. And I think, I wish we could look at what happened in Sweden and places like that where they did not have lockdowns because there might be a few more deaths, but this is going to be devastating, and it's going to take a long time to get out of this. And and I think this could be the biggest policy blunder in history, possibly. Because of the effect on our economy and even on our health. It's very debatable whether, quarantines, mass quarantines really do have, long term have the same, are more effective than allowing people to be exposed to a virus and gain what's called herd immunity and so forth. So anyway, this article, Charles Hugh Smith, is worth checking out. We didn't get into it in detail. So let's look at some markets and the astrology. And if you have never been to this site before, I use both technical analysis and astrology related to this specific market to see when key turning points may be taking place, inflection points could be occurring, and I combine the technicals with the astrology. These horizontal lines are support and resistance lines, momentum indicators, 50-day moving average. The vertical lines are astrology points coming up. Okay, so let's see, let me get my notes out here. So actually, it turns out today, and maybe sort of bridging over into tomorrow, there's quite a strong bullish energy in the Dow Jones Industrials taking place. It may show up in the futures market later this evening. So, we had a breakdown of this, what looked like a potential neckline in this pattern that formed in the Dow Jones Industrials. When this green line that you see here, which is often termed a neckline, is breached to the downside, that's a very weak signal, and often the market continues going down. But we have had also on Friday which is called a back test. We broke down a few days ago, and now we bounced back, and we were touching that green line. However, now this is the advantage, the benefit of from my research, and this is not financial advice, this is just sharing research. We have a strong bullish energy day today. Will it last through tomorrow is the question, okay? Because we don't have a lot of astrology dates coming up, okay? So if the market closes lower at the end of trading tomorrow, and maybe even Tuesday, the odds are that it's going to continue going south, because we don't really have anything much happening in this astrology chart for the Dow Jones Industrials until June 6th. And that gives a trader, someone who's an investor who plays the market or whatever, you've got a little bit of a forecast here, and you can add it to the other methods that you use for analyzing the chart. So that's what's happening in the Dow. Let's look and see what's going on in gold. Well, gold and silver interact, and you have to kind of combine the astrology of each, technicals of each. We had a triangle here. It broke out of the triangle this week. It's broke through the next level of resistance, which is quite positive. The moving averages are not overbought. And the astrology, though, is a little bit suspect. On Tuesday, tomorrow, we have a mildly bullish day, potentially. We have something happening on the 21st, which is maybe Thursday, something. Not a lot, okay, but enough to support this continued rise, at least I believe, particularly since we've broken out of this triangle, which is important from a technical, analytical view. So this market, and fundamentally with all the money printing, this market has a lot of upside. You don't want to buy. It's always difficult to buy at an intermediate high and see it come down. And we do have some resistance right here at that level, okay? But the astrology is fairly supportive, and when you get into July, which is a ways away, it becomes even stronger, more and more supportive, okay? Moving on to silver. Last week, in my last video, I talked about this line being Was it quite bullish, and it remained to be seen if it would immediately show up? Well, it did, and we see silver breaking through these resistance levels, several, okay, even breaking through the 50-day trend line, and then we were off and running on Friday. Silver as well has, we don't have a lot of really strong bullish things, but this momentum, the fact that we don't have any resistance lines above it, we may get a pullback, but this market's going to gravitate toward this line up here, just because that's how the technical analysis works. We're getting a little overbought RSI, not overbought at all in the MACD. So we could get some pullbacks. We have some support happening May 20th, which is Wednesday, possibly on Friday, and some things, but a significant date out here on June 3rd, which is a ways away, and we'll talk about it once we get there. But, nothing is restricting this market until we get up to this resistance level. Big move in silver. I think this is what was really behind actually gold's breakout when we were looking at the gold chart. Bitcoin. Well, Bitcoin has just been tracking this, this channel, just hitting resistance, back to support, hitting resistance, and so forth. This orange line right here is very important from a technical standpoint. We haven't quite broken through. I think I did this chart yesterday on Saturday. Let's see, let me look at my notes. Now, there is something happening tomorrow, except I don't have enough historical research on it to feel 100% confident. So, play the technicals. When the astrology is a little bit iffy, you play the technicals. And the most important technicals here, well, the one most important one is this trend line. If we break through, we're going to come back down to the 50-day moving average. If I was going to give you a general overview of what these energies represent ahead of us, a lot of volatility. So I think we're just going to continue. If we break above this trend line right here, which is more of a larger term resistance level, we're going to go higher. We're at least going to go to this one right up here. So come back to this video, learn how to do technical analysis, do your own research, find out how to draw these support and resistance lines, how to draw channels, and so forth, and you'll get a better idea of when to buy and when to sell. And that's the point, okay? And so let's see how it goes. But generally speaking, in Bitcoin, these are all volatile energies. I think if you permit me, let me look at my notes on Bitcoin looking ahead. It's not until July actually that Bitcoin has much more stronger bullish astrology. So we have a couple months to, I think we're essentially depending more on the technical elements than the astrological. And just like gold and silver interact and influence each other, Ethereum and Bitcoin do as well. Now, Ethereum has just been riding this rail of this channel right here. And Ethereum, though, has a strong element going on today and tomorrow as well. However, just like Bitcoin, it's one that I don't have a whole bunch of historical precedent for to look back on. So we'll see how it plays out. It could be quite bullish. But look at this gap in Ethereum. My goodness, there is not much going on here. Typically when this happens, the market tends to just trade sideways in a sideways manner and not go anywhere. So let's see how it goes. This too, like Bitcoin, is the key support level that's occurring. And finally, in my overview of markets, even though I haven't looked at it for a very long time, I wanted to look at Deutsche Bank. Deutsche Bank 10 years ago was trading at 140 or some level. Now we're down to 644. Okay, it's crashed, and it is the largest bank in the world, it has more trillions, like 40-50 trillion dollars of derivatives on its book that it's on the hook for. And so if suddenly we see Deutsche Bank trading at 4 or 450, like way down here, it's going to have a massive effect on the whole banking system worldwide. It's important. It's a bellwether. It's the canary in the coal mine, so to speak. So it's interesting that it is, trying to hold its own right now, and this is why I included it. It needs to hold that trend line. It's just broke beneath the 50-day moving average. This week looks like a pretty important week for Deutsche Bank, because it can, if it fails, it's going to have, major repercussions around the world. So anyway, on that cheerful note, I'll end this video. And this is my information. My name is Stephen. I have a master's degree in psychology, actually transpersonal psychology. I've been researching financial astrology for 25 years, astrology in general for way over 40 years, I hate to admit. I am, generally speaking, a hard money crypto advocate. If you want to email me, that's my email. Please consider liking this video, subscribing, all those things that you always hear about, and I do accept Bitcoin donations. So that's it for today, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching. I'll probably be back in about a week. Bye for now.